June 26, 2013. Present are
Kimberly Peace,
Susan Tucker.
Nick Camposano.
Patty Gale Staff,
Jean Walker.
Amy Pollock.
David Neiman.
Okay, the first thing on our agenda is the election of officers. We need a chairperson, vice chair, and treasurer. Need nomination.
I nominate Jean Walker to be chairman again.
I second that.
Such a good job.
Susan Tucker, then you can be vice chair. We need a second on that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. And our treasurer is not here, but
Hey, loses by not being present.
somebody wants to make a note.
I make a motion to recommend Karen McRae for treasurer.
A second.
Okay. We will vote on all those together. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody's opposed. Okay. The first thing we have is Eric Mitchell's application to review a proposal concept for a two-lot subdivision on Gorham Pond Road, owned by Ref and Jazz Weir, Lot 7, Map 7, Lot 47. Do we have anyone speaking on that? We do.
You can have my box.
Good evening.
Good
It's
evening.
okay. So we have 3 legs instead of 4. It fits. I have some small copies of the plan. If you need a bigger copy, I do have a few, but there's a little bit more information on these. So if you wouldn't mind passing those down, please.
Should have measured,
Measure
yeah.
for these over.
After there's one of us here.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
This is a lot that's on Gorham Pond Road. It's tax map 7, lot 47. It is vacant right now as far as houses or not, but there is an old sawmill here where the red is. Doesn't show on your plan. And there's a storage lumber shed in through here as well. The property is for sale, and Michael Moore has an option to purchase it. And what we would like to do is subdivide it into 2 lots. But if you apply the setbacks to the wetlands, we did have the wetlands down through here were flagged. We haven't done them yet on the other side here. The wetlands are flagged. The brook location is there, and we have a 100-foot setback from the brook as well as from the wetland. And there's a tributary that comes in across Gorham Pond Road, which is also listed on your inventory map, which requires a 100-foot setback from there. But I believe that the wetland itself is what trumps that. What we were proposing to do before the submission to the planning board is to do a 2-lot subdivision to be 2 acre on this lot and just over 3 acres on the second lot. But the concern that we have is that applying the 100-foot buffer to both the brook and to the edge of wet does not leave enough room for the 2 lots. It leaves room for the 1 lot, but not for the 2. So instead of submitting plans and everything to the planning board first, we know that for any relief to the 100-foot buffer, the commission would have to weigh in, and the planning board would act on that. We wanted to just come and fill the board out, the commission out here, to see what you have to say. If an application does go forward for subdivision, then you would have that application forwarded to you as well. The brook, I mentioned, it is Gorham Brook that comes down through there, and it is one of your listed brooks as far as the 100-foot setback to it. What we're asking for relief is 50 foot in some areas and other areas none. For instance, down through this area, we would leave it as it is. Slopes a little bit steeper. And this area by the lumber shed, it would be 50 feet to the edge of wet, but it's still 100 feet from the brook. And this one area through here, it would be 55 feet from the edge of the wetland to the top of the slope. This hashed area is a steep slope by your ordinance. That's where it starts to go down a little bit steeper. And so we propose to have a setback 55 here for the wet, but it would probably be from the edge of the river, probably close to 65 instead of the 100. Up through here, we would be 92 feet, almost at the 100 feet as required. And on the side here, we would propose to have 50 feet through there. All the area that's up in front where we show the two possible house locations is a flat slope. It's a B slope, 3 to 8%. The rest of the slope is a C slope, and this is a little bit steeper in that area right there, which probably falls into a D slope. The soils out here are Hinkley, sands and gravel, so they do drain well. And what we propose out here for if we continue with the subdivision is that we would put in infiltration trenches on both sides of where the roofs are through here to get the water to go into the ground. And also we had shown a 12-inch silt sock along the top of the slope down through here. So that would be used to prevent siltation from going down over the slope. We would also propose a deed restriction that nothing can take place in the buffer that remains, which includes forestry. Forestry, I think, is allowed within your buffers, but we would put it that would go forever wild. The only thing that would be coming out is dangerous or diseased trees that might be there. But we would leave it just the way it is. On the other side of the brook, on your plans you have, it shows the slopes do go back up. This is not all wetland, but it's not accessible to where we are. This is the Stonebridge Country Club over here. It's still called Stonebridge. Mm-hmm. This abuts right up to that. So this land would also be just left in its natural state. We would, besides deed restrictions, also put placards up through here that there's a wetland buffer and that uses are restricted in there. So we're here to see what the commission has to say about reduction in the 50-foot buffer.
Seems like at our last meeting, we just went through a development that was similar to this, that we had another issue. Mm-hmm. I don't, just so, and they were building in the buffer.
You're leaving that house to the south, sorry, Mr. Chairman, you're leaving the house to the south with almost no backyard. And anything that they do in that backyard would be within the buffer, and you just can't, it's very difficult to sell a house to a homeowner and make them respect those boundaries once they get that house and want to mow it or play in it, or that's how I think anyway.
And if the way we've drawn it is relief, this is the green line is the 50-foot line. So if we had relief, we'd have 50 to 60 feet behind the house to use for the house here, and be similar to what was allowed in the other house over here. The 100 feet would go right up where the house is, and it's not practical to try to even squeeze the house in there without relief from the buffer. But we do plan to have mitigation. We had proposed the filter sock, but it would either be that or some other erosion control measure. The soils are very sandy, so it's helpful. We're able to take water from our rooftops as well as from our driveways and infiltrate that into the ground. So we would have additional measures, but we didn't go ahead and plan everything yet because we're not sure where we stand relative to the 50-foot buffer, and we still have more work to do before we go to the planning board, if we go.
With the issues that a lot of people would, if they want a deck, they want anything in the backyard, they have no space. I don't know.
This is totally 7 is it a 10 acre as it stands as one piece now? Is that what I mean, or is it more than that? I'm
It's
reading.
actually 5
Five-
acres.
5.15.
5 acres, it's one parcel.
It's 5 acres.
So this one will be 2 and this one will be 3.
Oh, I see, okay. So it's only a 5 acre parcel, and
To
that's in,
start with.
yeah, let's start with. Isn't that, that's agricultural, isn't it out there?
Well, and aren't you below the 1 acre minimum requirement of usable area?
We are, but we did talk with staff, and they thought that that's something that the board could consider waiving. It was a question that we had to begin with. It's part of the planning regulations, not the zoning. So we met with Brian Rose, and he said that there may be a possibility of asking for relief for that, but we knew that we'd have to have relief from the 100-foot buffer first, and that's why we came here first, as opposed to a discussion with the planning board.
Well, just to point that out, I mean, 43560 is square feet of an acre, right? Because the top one is only half of that, 23. So that's a heck of a waiver, in my opinion.
This whole area is really wet.
Down below.
Yeah, it's a wet area.
I think, I'm a little concerned about the slope. I mean, that,
Yeah.
the use of that lot that slopes right to the brook. I mean, we're gonna deal with lawn, chemicals, who knows, what else is gonna be.
It seems like a particularly bad combination
it-
for relieving a buffer to have it upslope. On the
It
steep
does.
slope
Right.
below it. I mean, it's,
Right.
I would think even with infiltration, that is going to basically break out still in the brook. Anything that's infiltrated. Least path of resistance. And it's 18 feet just from the top of slope where the house would be to the wetland line. Drop is pretty significant.
It appears there has to be a lot of waivers on this for the usable plus the wetland setbacks. 2 lots.
Would you have to, I'm sorry, would you have to bring in fill to make these stable?
I don't think so. Where the houses are in the front, it's all very flat out through there, and I went out there this afternoon, and it's this is the area where this sawmill was. This all used to be open, and it's very stable. In through here, we had shown the proposed garage under, so we'll be building into the bank. So no fill would have to be brought in to do any of the development.
David?
well, I mean, we established setbacks for a reason, and I just don't see a good reason for relaxing that setback here. In fact, quite the opposite. It appears to me it's a terrible place to be relaxing setbacks with the slopes and the Gorham Brook, and we have, I guess this is below the prime wetlands on Gorham Brook, but nonetheless, we've really tried to do something to
All the places
maintain the
we've looked
quality
at.
of that stream. It just doesn't, unless I'm convinced otherwise, my vote would be no. I don't think it makes sense to be relaxing the setback on this, especially with all the other setbacks and waivers, and it just doesn't make sense to be doing this, I don't think.
If you look at it as a total lot, you could have a nice house lot with
Right,
the available area required and within.
and actually a 5 acre lot isn't that unreasonable in this area
Right.
with so much wet. So anyone else have any comments on this?
Maybe we could offer that as a potential of if we saw a one-house lot, we might be more amenable to allowing a 50-foot setback so that you could get a nice house right there where you need it.
Well, would you
That's-
even need it, though, with one lot?
Yeah. I
They got
They
100,
might.
what, they got 100
They
here,
might,
and they got
yeah.
100.
Yeah, so that, maybe that's my suggestion.
Well, actually, looking at the lower part of this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it? Oh, never mind. Scrap what I was about to say.
The existing 100-foot setbacks get lost a little bit on the sheet with all the other lines that we have.
Yeah.
But the 100-foot setback would be, if I can do it here, it shows on there a little bit. Oops. Yep. And go up. Oh, this is 100, goes in like that. So if you just look inside the orange, that's close to what the, this area here is outside of the 100-foot buffer, and this area in through here is in there. Part of what's in there, especially in this area, is the old sawmill, which had to be taken down and taken out, which has all been disturbed, at least up to the, where the top of the slope is.
Then that would be room for one house.
One house, right.
And we've looked at this parcel of land at different times too, I believe, a while ago. I don't know, does anyone else have any other concerns or should we comments? Should we take a vote on it or?
What is it that we're looking for at this point? Because it's not, is it an official
He's looking for
proposal
us
yet?
to
Or
relieve, I believe.
Yes, I'm not asking for an actual vote per
You're not.
se. It's really, if anything, it'd be
Recommendation?
a straw vote,
Okay,
or recommendations, or just opinions.
Okay.
And I think with what has been voiced and what has not been voiced, I think I have a good handle on how the commission views this, and I'd be able to report back to my client that
Okay.
way.
okay, thank you for presenting this to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Does he want these back?
Taking this back.
I am going to keep one for the record.
You want,
I'll pass them back. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Here we go.
I think I wrote on it anyways. Okay, financial budget, the current balance for the Conservation Commission current use fund is $144,516.94. Finance director rolled the 6-month CD with People's Bank for $324,179.76 for another 6 months. And the current use budget balance is $4,924.56. Minutes from April. Do we have any corrections or do you want to take a vote on those?
And I do have the non-public portion of the minutes of May 28th, if you got.
Okay, should we vote? Let's do, can we do them all at once? No, we should do April.
Well, the non-public you'll have to look at and then vote. I didn't mail them.
Okay.
But you can do the other ones.
Let's do,
the other
we
ones
can do
that are-
April.
And I can pass this out after
Okay.
you.
Do we have a motion for the April minutes?
So move, we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
I
Oh.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain? One abstention.
That was not good.
May, we have the regular minutes for May.
Yeah.
The
Our special meeting minutes.
the special meeting for one of those.
I move we accept these minutes, the May minutes, as written.
Second on those.
What minutes are there for that meeting? Wasn't that just us?
There was minutes because
were-
part of it was
there
in
was a-
public session.
There was a few.
Oh,
It
that's
was
right.
in your packet.
That's right. Spacing out, yeah.
Yeah.
I second.
All those in, yes.
Question. The full minute should reflect that we went into non-public.
Yes.
Does it?
Does it not?
I thought it did someplace, because didn't Karen put it into the,
Says
Yes,
that.
it does.
Yeah,
Perfect.
okay.
Thank
Made a
you.
motion.
I
Yeah.
was looking at the bottom.
I think
Right.
Karen, and I think it was a roll
So
call
used
on
to
it.
doing it at the end of
Right.
the meeting.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, second on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
I abstain.
2 abstentions. Okay, and now we have the minutes from this closed session.
Those you haven't even seen yet, so I'll pass those out and then you can
We'll
do
do
them
them
in
later?
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, we have the correspondence from the town, contacting service to remove the milfoil in Mansfield Lake. And we did have $2,000 put into the budget for next year, I believe, of this year.
This year.
This year.
It's in this year.
We have 2,000. They're asking for 2,500. But we have and we weren't sure whether some of that was for Glen Lake too.
You had some correspondence mailed to you, and then there's some I just distributed of a letter that was emailed to me today. So sitting in front of you, like I passed out, you should see that. It actually went to the Board of Selectmen. I don't even know if the Selectmen have seen it yet.
Which one, there's this piece right
Yeah,
here?
and then you'll
Michael
see they
Allard?
have a letter
Yes.
asking for the amount, and it has a copy of.
But what did we budget? We only
We have
budgeted.
2,000 in the budget, so we don't have
So I
25
don't
to
think,
start with.
how do we go about doing that?
Well, we can allocate the 2,000, that's what was
Allocate the
put there for,
2,000
so.
Right.
And if the selectmen deem more?
I believe that's what they would like us to allocate the 2,000. And do we remember if there's any comment on whether it was supposed to be for Glen Lake too?
It just says Namaska Lake Association, so I don't.
Yeah, but the money, when we just did it for milfoil. I think
Right,
when we put the money
right.
aside was for milfoil.
right.
And then the, what was mailed to you was Sue asking the commission to look into getting proposals for the milfoil removal. And she gave us a copy, it was Larry Pouliot did it from last year. She gave us like the last year's information, which we weren't part of it last year.
Right. And what we just got from, they had somebody else in mind, didn't they? To do it this year? Different?
This is all I've been given.
This is Larry Pillow.
Okay.
That's that's what they had from last year, and she was asking for the commission to look at obtaining information for it. And in the meantime, this came in too from the Namasaki Lake, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sorry.
That's like Nagasaki, yeah.
From Michael Allard, asking
For 2,500?
yeah. So I don't know, I would say that the commission can vote to release it for the use of it, because it's in your budget. That's
Right.
the way I view this now. I mean, as before, I would think it was a recommendation to the selectmen, but it's under your budget.
It's in our budget.
We could, we'll have to come up with 500 another way.
Well, I think since we did the 2,000, we should stick with that within our budget this year. That's what we appropriated for this.
But the question is, was that for Glen Lake also, and does there need to be milfoil treatment at Glen Lake as well?
Well, that's the
This is a
Question.
proposal.
Right.
right, was for Glen Lake too. And so that,
And this association is asking
Just for
for
the-
all of it. For
all
just
of it.
that.
All of it,
they're
right.
asking for all of it.
And they're just requesting 2,500. That doesn't mean that's what we need to give them.
Right. So we don't know
Because
if
if we use that all for them, then there's none for Glen Lake.
Glen Lake,
Is there any proposal on the table from anybody to do any work in Glen Lake? And,
no.
and to sit around and wait for a month or two for
Right.
such a proposal that doesn't exist to materialize would be pointless, because then it'd probably be too late in the season to do anything anyway. So, given that this is the only thing out there and the money has been set aside specifically for it, I would think we would go ahead and do that.
And then,
Right, because the cost proposal for the Glen Lake, as I'm reading this right, is $1,000.
right,
The cost proposal, this, at the bottom
but
of
this
this
year
piece
coming up was,
from Glen Lake.
I don't have anything for this current year, this is all
That-
last year.
last year was $1,000.
She's given
Oh.
it to us for us to
Oh,
look
this is,
at
that's
how
right,
we want
April
to do this.
2012. So, we didn't do anything with this proposal then?
Last year, I believe all you did was make a recommendation to the selectmen. It was all came in through the
We
selectmen.
didn't have any
But
money
nothing,
last
This
we
year,
didn't
we
have
raised
but
money.
nothing was done
Yeah.
at Glen Lake last year.
I have no idea.
So this proposal came in April last year.
This is last year's proposal.
Right,
Yeah.
but nothing came this year.
No.
And then it's being put, the conservation looks at proposals and
Right.
however they want to handle this.
So we don't know if there was anything done last year at Glen Lake, do we?
I believe
you know?
I
there
believe
was.
this was, that's what,
This,
it
this is
that's
what I'm
what it
saying, that
was.
was 1,000, yeah.
I think it was 2,000.
It was 2,000 at Glen Lake too.
1,000, well, okay.
1,000 up.
Each
For
one?
1,000 in each lake.
In each
There's
lake.
Both of them, each one have 1,000.
And the work was done?
Yeah.
And the work was done.
Yeah, I believe
I
it was.
assume that's what this proposal was for.
And she's explaining last
They
year,
didn't go through us
But
last
she
year.
says last year that amount allowed for hand pulling of both lakes.
Yeah.
Right, right.
But it does look like that the lake work was done twice, Memorial Day and then also Labor Day. So I don't know if anything's been done this year at Glen Lake.
I don't believe anything has been, because this is the first I've been given something, and if it's now being put under conservation, I would think I would have gotten some information on that. Unless that's part of their scope originally, is to do
To
it
continue,
again.
to continue through.
But all I'm saying is this was last year, and she wants us to come up with, see, at the end, she's saying perhaps we could reach out to him regarding his interest in developing a proposal for 2013.
So for 13, all we have is the piece from Michael Allard requesting all the money to do.
10 more.
Right, wow, right.
So,
I don't know much about this.
The only other thing is, there's just the treatment cost, but there's really no official proposal that states, where is that 9,500 coming from? I guess I would want to see, make sure that 2,000 is going towards an official proposal, which is what we had here from this aquatic control technology. But I don't know how everyone else feels about that. It's just because it's just a one-page letter asking for money.
we're asking for it to notify his association that we would give them that much money towards it, I think.
Well, it looks like they've contracted aquatic control technology and they're asking.
Where do you see that? This is last year's stuff, though, you're looking at. that
Yeah, see,
packet.
that's all last. Oh.
No, but isn't this contract dated June 10th, 2013? I'm asking legal butter, so this is from aquatic control technology. So this
Oh,
seems to be
this
their
one is.
proposal.
Right, that second page.
But it says 2012, and it's $2,000. Like, I don't see anything that says 9,500.
This one says 2013. From the other pile of emails, there's one got mailed to us in our packet.
It must be in the folder.
It
Right.
starts with hygiene, this one.
But if you flip to the next page. Is this,
Oh, so maybe maybe he copied it, I don't know.
Right, right.
Do you want me to ask him to come in to our next meeting and explain it?
I think so. Maybe in the meantime, should we try to contact I could call and see if there is something for Glen Lake?
Do we know what's the schedule of the work? So, I mean, to say that we're going to wait till the next meeting, is that?
it was supposed to be Tuesday.
I believe they did it, 'cause we read
This
that
Tuesday.
announcement at our meeting.
Oh, and they just want reimbursement money
for the,
towards it.
Restrictions in wells and swimming, that announcement. So we read.
So,
Something's confusing here then.
All right, so in other words, if we wait for a month for
Won't
further
matter.
clarification, it's not going to hold them back because they're already doing the work anyway? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think they've already applied the herbicide. That part, I think, we announced. I don't know.
And that was only in Namaske. That was, no.
That was
just,
these areas here, the crosshatched
right, okay.
areas in Massachusetts.
Namaske.
so
Or you could always, I guess you could look at releasing what was given to them last year.
1,000.
Yeah, and have them come in to explain and wait, to make sure that there's nothing needs to be done to Glen Lake as well.
That
And
would,
hold
that was
1,000.
going to say split it in half.
authorize to release the first 1,000, but we need explanation at the next meeting, and
We have to see if Glen Lake needed something.
I have nothing from anything to do with Glen Lake, so I guess, I don't even know if it needs to be done.
No, I know. Do you think the person that did it
Who goes
last-
out and sees if it needs to be done? Is it the people that take it out? I mean, I don't even know who.
I don't know. But this person who did it last year must have been the one to see if Glen Lake needed some, or whoever.
I mean, maybe treat it and it's good.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Right.
Right, but that, I think
And
we
then,
need to
so
know
it's not
that.
necessary, we can give the other 1,000.
But I think we need to know
Right,
that
but we
before we
should
give
know
all the
that.
money away. Too. And since it's already been done, it's not gonna hold anything up.
It would be nice if they were asking for money, if they could come to answer some questions.
Yeah.
Or we can just hold off and wait to have them come in to explain it. And
That's true, we could do that.
the email just came today with a letter. And then it shows the areas that they did it. I just received actually like at 2:00 today. So that's why you're kind of being hit with that.
Okay.
So did Sue give you back an answer? Could we approve it, or do we have to recommend to the Board of
I
Selectmen?
never got an answer back. So, in my opinion, it's in your budget, so you allocate your funds. And I just, it's just like if someone's doing, minutes, comes out of your budget, we don't have to have it approved, so I'm assuming as long, if you guys are good with it, you can approve it.
I think we need to wait on this until we have more answers to questions, but that's up to
Have them come to the July meeting.
what anybody else thinks. I mean, it's done, so it's not gonna be holding anything up, except paying the
Well,
people.
part of it's done.
Hmm?
Part of it's
Part
done.
of it's been done, yeah.
There's both chemical treatment and a physical pulling, isn't there?
Well, I think we could release the
Should we release,
1,000 to,
split it in half? Give them a half of it,
right,
because that's how
because
we
if
would,
it's done, we could release $1,000 to
right, give them a half, and then see what Glen Lake
See
needs
what-
something.
what has to be done on Glen Lake, and if nothing needs to be done,
They
then
can
we
have
can
the other
release the
half.
other 1,000 to them. But if something has to be done, at least we have
Something for Glen Lake.
something for Glen Lake, because I think,
Because if Glen Lake only has a little bit, we could keep that in check, it might not have to be done
right, because this
often.
comes
'Cause it's
down.
feeding down
It's
to
feeding
them.
down to
Right.
the lake, so
So
you
if you
do
don't
need
do
to
Glen
treat
Lake,
this.
you're gonna have it right back down there again.
Right, we need to treat up above,
I mean, it would
makes sense.
think.
Well, I'm kind of torn between, on the one hand, I'm glad somebody is addressing this and certainly would want to help, and it'd also be nice to get an explanation of before you release the funds. So I like to split the difference approach and kind of
Yeah, I mean, it's just like paying an invoice with no invoice, so I guess I would just like to see, there's no invoice. What we're looking at here is from 2012, and the pricing is totally different.
So
You
you
look
just,
at-
yeah.
That's
Wait.
all. So I think it's fine, to give them the money, but I just don't feel like I have anything that says there's an invoice. Do you? Do you know what I mean? It's just a letter asking for money and with an estimate of 9,500, which last year it was 2,000 for 2 areas. Why is it 9,500? So that's all. I mean, it's town money. We want to make sure it's going the right place.
Yeah, that's what can we,
yeah,
I know we had a warrant article the year before to spend
Right.
the money.
but it wasn't that much.
Does the town have to contract to have the work done? If it's out of our budget, or can we pay the Namaski?
To me, I'm even thinking the check you'd want written to directly who did the work.
But we don't know who did
That's,
the work.
yeah.
And this is from the association is asking for
This
the
has
money.
just been forwarded to me
Right,
from
but I'm
Sue,
saying,
too.
it looks like it
You need
came
more
from the
information.
association to
Yeah,
see what
so-
we're gonna pay back to them. I mean, that's
Right.
Okay,
kind
it's getting a little murkier now,
Yeah.
because I thought this was something that was being handled through the selectmen, because the letter was going to the selectmen.
never
but-
seen it.
But you've never
Oh.
seen it either.
Then we
In that
should,
case,
we
I
shouldn't
think
do
we
anything.
should give an
Shouldn't do
explanation.
anything.
Have them come in, we wanna see a copy of an
Yeah.
invoice.
And in the
of
meantime,
what
we'll
the
try to
work's
see if
been
Glen
done.
Lake, in the meantime, try to check to see if Glen Lake needs anything.
Okay.
Do you have any records of,
We weren't part of it. All
I
we
know,
did was
that's
make
true.
a recommendation, and
who was part of it, last the
It
selectmen?
was a
Selectmen.
warrant article.
Oh, I know it was a
warrant
warrant
article.
article, and was
I believe
voted
they-
on.
And did it go out to bid?
Administration too.
Did the work go out to bid?
No, I believe Mr. Pilot is the person who put in the petition
Right.
warrant article.
Right. Okay, let's
Okay.
just hold on that
And
and
we
have
need
them
to-
come in, Patty.
Okay.
And then
Because
in the
nothing even
meantime, we'll
says that he
see
did
if,
the work this year. There's something that says
it's
he
a different
only
person, I
did the
think.
work.
I don't know,
Yeah, okay.
but I guess
But they
it's
got a
easy to
grant.
contact them.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, I have his number, so I'll invite him in.
Yeah,
They got a grant.
I'd like, not only that they come in to see it, but also that we know that this is all
Right.
clear and makes sense with
Yeah.
town administration and the selectmen as well, so that due diligence is being done.
Yeah.
Because I
This is
guess I
just-
misunderstood, I thought it was more along those channels already, but, yeah.
It's just to us.
It's been, here you go.
Okay.
No? Okay, what'd I do?
Give us pay later. We did it, pay later. Okay, takes care of that one. Alteration of terrain permit for AutoZone, Mass Road, map 18 lot 61. I don't have to do anything on that one.
Nope.
And then we have the copies from DES to Scott and Tracy Landry regarding wetland violation in regards to building a patio gazebo wall and retaining wall without a wetlands permit. Map 21 lot 83, 66 Cove Street. We don't have to do anything on that one, but it's because it's being taken care of by the state. And a copy of a letter from New Hampshire DES to Richard Fletcher regarding wetland violation for construction of a rock table within the Piscataqua River in Glen Lake. And property is located at 130 Elm Street, map 35, lot 17A. Copy of letters from New Hampshire DES to Sam and Kenneth Ovoskowitz regarding shoreline violation for construction of a chicken coop and resurfacing the shoreline with AstroTurf without a permit. And this property is located at 85 Surratt Road, map 24, lot 71. And a copy of New Hampshire DES to David Ashoff regarding a wetlands violation for installing dock in Glen Lake without a permit. Property is located on 219 Elm Street, map 36, lot 35. All of these were reported directly to the state. Patty believes it was through the Coast Guard, who patrols the waters. And we just don't have to do anything since they're taking care of them, which is great. And then the last one is UNH Extension, New Hampshire Covered Project Workshop, 9/18 through the 21st, and a field trip at 101 on July 18th.
Can you,
Is that it seems like a covert project, like a underground, like CIA, like is that right? Is that really the covert project workshops, or is it
that's what it's called.
something?
Yep.
Okay. What are
Covert's
covert
project.
projects?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
What are those? What is a covert project?
Tell you.
I know, it's a
Hampshire, let's
secret.
see, free training opportunity for those interested in wildlife habitat conservation.
Yeah, it's cool, but right on the front,
Okay, I was just,
maybe it means.
Volunteers working for wildlife.
I've never heard the coverts project before.
Okay, and,
I have two new things that weren't
Oh.
in on the list. One was there's a timber cut permit for.
okay, Tim, intent, let's see, this
You've
is
seen 'em before.
Brookfield, yeah, Norman Road, 21 Lesnick Road, map 4, lot 20, and Wallace Road, map 5, lot 95-1, and Norman Road, map 5, lots 61-1. Susan, is that where you looked at Norman Road? The timber cut, where they, in back of the villa, near there?
Yeah, I didn't look at that though.
Okay.
But is that where
It
that's,
sounds like that might be where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's already had them. He's renewed them.
wildlife, right?
somebody called about that?
Yeah, and you went and looked at it.
Ah,
Remember,
ah,
somebody
ah.
called and you went and looked at it?
Right,
And
because they, right,
Right, it was
right, because they
wildlife.
were concerned because they were going
Right, and they
going
said,
through the wetland to drag their logs out, and, But the town's supposed to, I did bring it up to the town, and they're supposed to send somebody out to look at it.
Brian, the foresters looked at all of them. What they're doing there is, it's some sort of funding he has where he brings it back to
Remember, he's bringing it back to natural.
Plants.
That's what they said, right.
For 10 years?
and he can't develop it for 10 years. That's what's going on there.
Right.
Okay, that's what that one is.
And
And then the last one is,
just this,
oh,
they're
yes,
going to ZBA.
Jennifer and Marie LaRoche, the owners that, a waiver for having built an attached garage to an existing single-family home that's closer, they had come in earlier and it was 4 feet from the front lot line. It is now 1.95 feet from the front line, whereas the variance was previously granted for the garage to be 4 feet from the property line in May of 2012. The applicant is also seeking to build a building shed on a lot across the street that does not have a primary building on it, such as a home. The variance is needed to allow a shed as a principal use because a shed is not permitted use in section 3.11 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. Another variance is needed because the shed is located 20 feet from the front property line, whereas section 4.3 of Goffstown zoning ordinance requires a setback of 25 feet. These lots are located within a 100-foot wetland surface water conservation district setback from any defined surface water. The property is located at 144 Moose Club Park Road, map 21, lot 115 and 117 is residential 2. This is
There's attached, to give background, they came in, they got their variances, they built the attached garage, and then they found out they were closer than their variance that was approved. So now they have to go back through, and because of, it's in the zoning ordinance that we make a recommendation, it comes back to us again to make a recommendation. So it's not going closer to the river, it's still on the opposite side. It's closer to the road. And then across the street on the opposite side of the road is where they want to put the shed. And then if you look at I gave you just the notice so you knew what it was about. And then the two plans, one shows how it's close to the road, and the other one shows where they're proposing to put the shed.
And remember the nice, we don't have to deal with the rain gardens.
No.
Okay. So we have to,
They did do built rain gardens as it was recommended in rain
Amy
gardens.
was, of course, they're in the wrong place. But, so the shed is across the road.
So there's really two waivers. It's
Two waivers.
One's the shed's a variance,
variance.
and the other one's an equitable waiver because they already built it and
It's too close.
right. No, but I was referring to the shed. So the shed variance is needed because the shed is located within 20 feet from the front property line, and in addition, it's within 100-foot wetland surface water conservation
setback?
district.
Correct.
Yeah. Now that's the. Yeah.
Any other comments on this?
on the opposite side of where the shed is. Because
Right.
if you see, they consolidated, got the 3 lots, they consolidate. This is the rail trail on the opposite
Oh,
side.
so they have the rail in the backyard?
That's what abuts them on the other side.
Is this shed in addition to the existing shed?
There's, I
Or
don't
did they,
think,
are they
I
moving
think they
the
moved the shed, they're moving the shed, and that's where they would like to put the shed.
was the shed on the other side of the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember, it was, I was just gonna say, that was way
We're
up
actually moving it away from
from the river, right?
the river.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is better.
Yes.
So when the Wetland Conservation District was established, of course, they were grandfathered in with an existing home and everything, but we're talking about putting a shed on a lot that isn't necessarily grandfathered in because there's nothing on that lot right now. The
Right.
grandfathering clause does not apply.
Except that they wanna move the shed from a different lot to that lot, right?
So they're moving the shed
From the,
further from the river?
yes,
Yes.
farther away. It's right, the shed right now is right, pretty much on their line over on the right-hand side of your paper, right above Moose Club.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like a long ways, but I don't think anything's a long ways
And they're
down there.
under no other requirement to remove that shed otherwise?
They chose to remove the shed. That's part of their proposals. They were removing it.
So
When they were-
it could be argued there's an environmental benefit because you're getting it further from the river.
Right.
The original variance, they said they were removing the shed. And they've come back now to ask for it to be in that location.
Well, it is farther away from the water. Was that the shed that Evelyn was worried about storing the things in?
Wasn't that a different property?
Or was it a different
I
property
think
down
it was
there?
a different
That was
property.
what
Yeah,
you
I'm looking at the
That
map.
was,
Yeah, that was
auto, yeah.
Repairs.
Yeah, that's off the
Existing
Dana's
paved
property.
That was
drive.
in, okay.
Does anybody know when you look at this and you look where the new shed goes in and then there's this kind of this filled-in hash
What is that?
It's a
What is
retaining
that?
wall.
retaining wall?
Because it goes
Is this
upslope, right, like to the bottom of the page, it goes up.
This, you said this is a retaining
Yeah,
wall?
that's retaining wall. To hold the,
So they move it right back to the
Because it
retaining wall.
slopes
to
down.
hold the slope up, yeah,
Mhm.
right. I think it's a 12 by 5 foot shed, right? It's
Mhm.
pretty
Pretty
small.
Shed.
They're
Pretty
gonna
small
be
shed.
tormented enough to get through all the.
Yeah. These tables,
Yeah.
smaller. Right.
The shed, one of these, it might be the shed, it also goes to planning because it's on the outer 50 feet. One's on the inner, goes to ZBA, and the outer goes to planning.
It's probably not much bigger than the inside of these tables.
They might have to get a shoreline permit too,
To move it.
to build it.
To
It's
build
not
it.
built, right?
I think it's,
It's-
they're relocating
Oh,
it.
yeah, maybe,
So there'd be no net change in,
maybe.
The impervious.
They're not changing the
Impervious.
impervious, so.
And maybe update because they have a permit
Okay.
for building the garage, to update their shoreline permit to include the deck, to include the
Yeah.
shed.
They'll have to look at their permit and see.
Yeah.
Well, I suggest that it's a very small shed and it's
Yeah.
very minimal. I don't have any recommendations to zoning, or I guess I would recommend to approve.
Can we just put down?
and I would add that, you could say there is some net benefit here, just that you're moving it further from the river. So there's better chance of any runoff from that small footprint, though it is, to percolate into the soil rather than run into the river.
Okay.
That's
And
okay.
what about, do you have anything to relating to the 2 feet?
The 2 feet.
It's still, it's
It's there. Amy.
it's not where they built towards the river is where they said, it's the other side that's closer.
Yeah. Well, that one's more of a property setback
Right.
question, which is less of,
It's,
more of a
May-
You have
planning
no
board.
We
comment
have no-
regarding that?
issue for us.
No comment on the,
I don't.
Unless you say if they make them do work to move it, then that would cause more disturbance within the shoreline protection area and probably be worse. If everything's already
you
stable.
want me to state that if removed, it would disturb?
I don't know, it's,
It's up to you guys, or you want to just have no comment on the equitable waiver?
yeah.
No comment?
No comment?
No comment on that part, I would support, yeah.
Okay.
no comment.
Okay. And Amy motioned.
And Amy said, do
And
not
who's
disturb.
second to send,
Okay.
do you want a second?
I'll second.
So it's like a formal recommendation?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Okay.
It's done. Okay, we have one set of plans, I believe.
Yep, and I mailed you out the big, the little small
Small ones,
reduced
yep.
ones, so I don't, if you remember way back when they got approved to do dorms,
Mhm.
now they're gonna do it, they've changed a little bit, and I guess it's supposed to be less of an impact on the drainage.
And it was approved.
It was approved,
Right. last time through.
signed,
And they just didn't do
now they're changing it,
I'm just gonna read it.
so I have to go back.
Okay, plans there, map 3, lot 41, site plans for a dormitory at St. Anselm's College on St. Anselm's Drive.
Yep, and you do have the big ones in front of you too.
It's just,
Do we have identified what changed?
Sorry, people.
would it be this page?
I think the square, what is it? I do believe Brian has comments from Megan too, I printed out, you know.
This one.
Here it is.
Oh, no,
And I don't
we
think
did
it's
see that.
showing,
These were
because it's a whole new site plan, I don't know if it's showing.
08,
There's no
07,
wetlands involved,
so
right?
It was all approved by the planning board. And it came through
They have
us too.
drainage work that
It's
they
all
have to
approved.
do.
Yeah.
But then they never built it,
That's all Megan's reviewing.
and now they're
So if you look at
philosophies.
Somebody I think
All the
already has
students on
the
campus,
here that shows
so
what
they
the change
find the
is.
kids are
It's
running
No,
around
I don't think
campus
you're gonna
now.
see,
Because
because they're starting from scratch again.
Kids like to have apartments,
so.
or, you know, whatever,
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
I
So-
think when we looked at this before, it was pretty much what we said was, we had no issues of concern as long as they're following DPW's
Right, yeah.
recommendations
Right.
on drainage and.
Oh, I like
I think-
subsurface detention.
Did you want to look at the
In
big one?
fact, weren't they removing some pavement
They were.
and actually adding some green space?
They already, yeah, they did that, the Founders Green,
Yeah.
it's a common, they did do that. That's done in another area.
I can't see.
It shows it on here. Maybe on the overview.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows it.
On the overview?
Yeah, it's just a little bit north of Joan of Arc Hall.
Which number are you?
This is page, sheet 3 of 19.
So no issues or concerns as long as they work with DPW on any drainage issues.
Oh,
Green
right,
area that they
right,
put in. This is all
right.
parking.
Up here.
Mhm.
You just see it on here, the fall, on this.
This is Joan of Arc Hall. It's right in this little spider walkway.
Oh, yeah.
That was what they really did. It used to be parking there.
Let's see. Okay. I don't. Do you have any other comments, or?
So what was our official comment?
I think you.
No
made-
issues or concerns as long as they work with the Department of Public Works with any drainage issues.
David made the
All right,
motion.
David made-
I made the motion.
We need a second?
I'll
Second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We, she didn't have it on here, but do we have anything from open space?
Yeah, we have the non-public section, we're gonna.
Yeah, well, before that, we do have one other thing to talk about. It's kind of old news, but restated. So with us out in the audience, we have Alison Gilliam from the PLC. She's a land protection specialist. And she's also going to be coming into our closed session. But first, we wanted to talk about, do you all remember the parcel that was generously donated by Barbara Robinson and to be named the Ploss Pines Preserve in honor of her family? It was a long, there were complications that had to be sorted out, but that transaction was completed, and she did give the land to the PLC. PLC in turn is generously looking to open it to the public and share it with the citizens of Goffstown and anybody else coming by. So we just wanted to talk about that a little bit. Will have to be some planning work done and determining, where a trail network would be and the access to it and all that. And when that time comes, also be looking for volunteers that might help to do some of that work. Two sources of volunteers. One is our sort of informal ad hoc Friends of Goffstown Land Conservation. We can probably get the word out among people and see who would be interested. And the other possibility that we often have before us is Eagle Scouts and so on coming in wanting to do often trail work, kiosk signs, that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind, that we might have a good place to recommend any of those proposals in the future. And probably we'll have to have some discussion with other parts of the town and boards and committees just to determine how we would want to do the access. This property, it's located behind the cemetery in the center of Grassmere. And in fact, there's an arm of it that kind of comes up, and just the corner of it just comes right up to the edge of it. And we had thought in the past and had some discussion about this, but nothing on a formal level. We have the large parking area there in front of the cemetery that's used for the cemetery, for the church, for the daycare, and the town hall. So there's parking. And a good access to the site could be to walk around on the town road that goes around the church and then goes through the middle of the cemetery. And essentially where that road dead ends, when you get to the bounds of the cemetery line, you just go across, and that's where you would enter the Robinson. So it kind of works out conveniently. But again, that's something we'll have to discuss and make sure that the cemetery committee is happy with that. And think about how we might want to make that visible to the public. I mean, we don't want to put a large sign, obviously, because the cemetery's there, and we want to be respectful of that. But I don't know if there's some small sign or some small map or something in the parking lot that we could put so that people would know where it is and how to get to it. At this point, I'd like to introduce Alison. If she has anything more she'd like to say about that particular property.
So I'm Alison Gilliam. I'm the land protection specialist at the Piscataqua Gland Conservancy. And actually that was a really good overview. I don't have too much to add, except that we are looking to collaborate with the town and make it a good relationship, and I'm definitely looking for volunteers to help. So, yeah.
And just a reminder to those of you who haven't been out to see it, what's out there. It's part of the sand bluffs that overlook the river. You know, as you drive down Henry Bridge Road, you see the big sand heaps rising up. Of course, there's other places on the county land where we have that sort of thing. But this spot is probably the nicest and the prettiest and the most interesting location for that anywhere within the town. It's forested. It's covered mostly with pines. There's some good-sized white pines out there. There's also a lot of
Pitch pine.
pitch pine. Thank you.
Which is
spacing out.
interesting.
and good-sized pitch pines. I mean, pitch pines are around in New Hampshire. They're usually in kind of localized places on top of ridges and other parts of the state where they're a little more abundant. But here in Goffstown, we have them a few places, usually on ridge tops. The ones in there are pretty nice. They're pretty good size, actually, for pitch pines. So the trails, as you hike through there, you go up and down. There's brooks that comes through. Cemetery Brook goes through the middle of it. Another corner of it is the end of Harry Brook after it comes down and crosses the bridge underneath the road. The actual mouth of Harry Brook emptying into the river is kind of one corner of the property. So you have a lot of topography out there, and it's really quite beautiful because you have the pines forest up on top of the sand bluffs and beautiful views down towards the river. Then you drop down in the low spot, and you've got more mixed hardwoods coming in, things like basswood and maples and whatnot. There's also an open meadow part that you see from Henry Bridge Road as you go down, and then the stretch that's right along the river is actually quite scenic too, because the river goes by and it makes a big bend there and it cuts channels and there's big boulders. It's a very pretty spot. So it's a lovely place to go for a walk, and to have that right in the middle of one of our 3 village centers and suddenly have this recreational opportunity. I think this is great.
How many acres did you say?
It's 32 acres.
If there's enough topography, make the trails a little longer than you might think.
Has there been any trail work done out there? I haven't walked it in a while.
Not
Not
official.
officially, but there are some trails out there, yeah, that are pretty nice actually.
When the property was first looked at and first entertained for the PLC to acquire it, there was a big concern because there had been a lot of ATV usage.
Right.
And those ATVs made some pretty significant trails. But that turned out to be easily resolved. The owner put up signs, no ATVs, and it stopped. It was very effective. Whoever was riding was very respectful of it, and they're to be commended for that. And so there's some trails that, some of those areas that should be allowed to hill over because they're, a little too steep or too direct down the side. But other portions of that actually would probably become the basis for a trail network. So there are trails out there that you can go out and walk. They just aren't official and just needs to be cleaned up and redirected a bit. And then, there might be a couple spots where we need to put in some reinforcing structures to keep erosion in check. But yeah, it's not like starting from nothing. There's actually something to start with.
Yeah, I walked it when it was first established. I remember walking out there. There are some pretty steep areas, but it's fun because you get down to the bottom and then you play around and come back up. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's kind of unique too. I mean, there's so many interesting places to walk in Goffstown. This one's a little bit different.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you. So we want to go into non-public session. Someone needs to make a motion.
And then you gotta vote by roll call.
And then we will be coming back out because I need to talk about the Blondo.
Oh, okay.
You want to talk
Yeah.
about that first?
It's up to you. Whatever
Yeah, we
you-
can do that
Well-
for us.
We'll do that.
We have to actually when we do come out though too, we have to be in public session when we come out to adjourn. Just letting you know that too.
So when do you want to come out?
It's entirely up to the.
Sure, why not?
Okay, we'll do it when we come out.
However you want. I don't.
Someone want to make a motion to go into non-public?
I'll make the motion, but I don't remember the exact RSA to sign.
RSA 91 A3 Roman numeral 2 D for real estate questions.
And we need it seconded,
I'll second.
and roll call.
Kimberly Peace, yes.
Susan Tucker, yes.
Yes. I would vote for that.
Do you have to?
No, I'm not a.
Jean Walker, yes.
Amy Polak, yes.
David Neiman, yes.
Okay, now we have to tell him to put the light off.